Welcome to another segment of ACRP TV, our spotlight today on COVID-19's impact on quality in clinical trials. Obviously a very important topic. We've got a really good guest with us today. Mary Westrick is the president of the College of Surveyors at the Site Accreditation and Standards Institute. Mary, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let me put you on the spot right away and ask you the $64,000 question, and this is putting it cheap, but how has COVID impacted studies broadly?
Okay, broadly, because well, we could talk about that for days. Certainly, sites know much better than I can tell them. Many of them have had studies canceled or delayed just right off the bat, and have had to pivot and make arrangements for that. But I think in the protocols that we see are ongoing, many of the changes we have seen are the changes we've seen in our own lives. Many of the visits are becoming virtual. Mm-hmm. So instead of the study volunteer traveling to the study site and going in for an in-person visit and an evaluation and perhaps a drug reconciliation, they're doing it from home just like we're doing it now on a Zoom call or something like that. And that's been very interesting because certainly we're not used to that in healthcare very often. It's got implications for both the volunteer and the study personnel. One of the positives that I see coming from this is that we feel that this may open up clinical trials to a broader base of the population. Certainly those folks that are maybe more rural communities or even suburban communities that aren't near those study sites. They can't travel for 45 minutes or an hour and a half to get to a study site every week. But they might be able to make it twice during the study and do all the rest of their visits virtually. So that could be a plus, and that we could get increased enrollment and sites could get an increased catchment area. The downside is that, of course, being in person, you do lose some of those interpersonal cues. If you're a really good study coordinator, you're assessing that patient as soon as you see them, usually in the waiting room. You're watching them walk, you're looking at their hands and their face, not just from the shoulders on up that you see in a Zoom meeting. Right. So you might see a little piece of a rash peeking out from someone's shirt sleeve, and that prompts you to ask about it. You might notice that they're shuffling along instead of maybe having a normal gait, and you might start to ask about that. You are going to miss that in virtual visits, and we have to understand that some of those things will not necessarily be caught.
Yeah, let's drill down a little bit more and to focus even more on your area of expertise. How do you think COVID has impacted quality systems?
Okay.
So it's big.
Well, I think in a broad sense, it's certainly shown a lot of sites that their quality system isn't where it needs to be. Because if you have a good quality system, you should be able to come up with and execute new processes and procedures as these protocols are adapted. And if you don't have a good quality system, you may come up with a new process, a new procedure, but the odds are good you're going to make a lot of errors. And the quality system is going to help you because it's going to have a prescribed way for you to come up with these new processes, with these new procedures, with these new staffing models in a way that's going to limit the amount of errors that you could have, because again, it's a good quality system and it's a good quality management system. So I think that's critical as we start to adapt to some of these new things in clinical trials.
Now, based on your job title, and we've talked a little bit, and your expertise, I suspect you're somebody that believes pretty strongly in accreditation. It's not always easy to get, and nor should it be, arguably. So given that, why is accreditation so important? How can it be beneficial?
Well, I think it can be beneficial in that it can give both the site and the sponsor, as well as the study volunteer, should they be so interested, confidence that the fact that they've got a good quality management system that is robust, that is followed. You can have a great quality system, but if nobody follows it, it's really no good, right? But that should give you a good sense of comfort that, number one, patient safety is being protected, always. Number two, that the data being generated is reliable and is accurate. And those are the two things we always want to focus on when we're running a clinical trial. We protect our volunteers, and our data is true data, true, accurate data, and it can be relied upon and for regulators to make a decision. A good quality management system will help you do both of those things.
Do you think COVID has made accreditation even more important?
Well, I think it has, because of course, one of the items to come up is that people aren't going to want to make site visits quite so much. And so you may be able to start culling your list of probable sites or possible sites by those who have accreditation, because you already have kind of a standard that these sites have reached that you don't have to worry about. So you may not have to go and do a site visit, or maybe not as in-depth a site visit to a site that you don't know, because you've got an accreditation there.
Fantastic. We've been speaking here with Mary Westrick. She's the president of the College of Surveyors at the Site Accreditation and Standards Institute. This has been our ACRP TV spotlight on COVID-19's impact on quality in clinical trials. Mary, we're in good hands with you. Thank you very much for your input here today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.